The Running Warehouse Ballarat Marathon is back in April with a flatter and faster course, more entertainment and expanded expo. The full marathon is almost 80% sold, so sign up today at ballaratmarathon.com.au to lock in your place on the start line. Welcome to episode number 1 of the Road to the Ballarat Marathon podcast series, brought to you by the Ballarat Marathon and the Federation Uni. I'm stoked to be hosting episode number 1 because I get to introduce you to 2 guests that I've got on the other side of the mic with me tonight. And we get to talk about all things Ballarat Marathon. We're going to be talking about the race, its origins, going to be hearing from one individual about how his training's going and his goals leading into it. And hopefully I take you behind the curtain a bit about what it looks like 13 weeks out of one of, I guess it's quickly becoming one of Australia's biggest marathons in the country. Welcome, my co-host. I've got Steve Moneghetti beside me tonight, and I'm going to read through some of these race results because he knows a thing or two about marathon running. First at the Berlin Marathon, second and first at the Tokyo Marathon, second at the London Marathon, 7th and 10th at the Olympic Games. He's also got a gold, a silver, and a bronze medal in Commonwealth Games marathons, and he's the race director of the Ballarat Marathon. Welcome to the podcast, Mono. How are you going tonight?
Great, Brady. Good to be along, and nice to be on board for Ballarat Marathon. Obviously, something close to my heart, but just great to chat anyway. It's been too long since I've been on, mate.
Yeah, I know. You've got so many good stories as well. So, but this is going to be a bit different, Mona, talking about some stuff, the organisation of a marathon. Often we're talking about your race results in marathons over the years. So this will be fun.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's age or time. It means I'm kind of, moving on into another capacity, but I'm enjoying it. And it's been a delight to just see it evolve over the last few years.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second because that's one of my first questions for you. My other co-host, he's going to be with us throughout the whole series. He's the domestic manager of student recruitment at Federation Uni down at the St. Helen campus in Ballarat there. He's got a PB of 3:28.15 from last year's Ballarat Marathon. Welcome to the Inside Running Podcast, Jason Rossi.
Yes, thanks, Brady. Quite a short intro compared to Steve. I think I come 3rd or 4th at the Wallaby Track Park run once too, when there was a bit of bad weather and many people away. So, yeah, that's all I've got to go
on. Maybe fresh off a PB down at the Torquay Park Run. Now we're talking about Park Run, results a few weeks ago. Would that be correct?
I did, yeah. I got under 20. That was a big goal for last year to get under 20, and it was the last one of the year. And I sprinted my guts out for the last 150 metres to get there by 2 seconds. So.
Yeah, good work. That's a big barrier to break, the old sub 20 for 5K. So you're in shape. So I'm looking forward to tracking and discussing with you tonight your training leading into the race. It's good to have a local person there. I was just looking at your Strava today, and it looked like your long run on Sunday was pretty much the Ballarat Marathon course.
It was. Did do a bit of the course, and I did see that you followed me as well. So screenshot of that, put it in a few groups and said, look at this, I've made it. Time to hang up the boots now. I'm done.
No, you've got 13 weeks of hard training. You've made it when you cross the finish line in a massive PB in 13 weeks' time. But it's good. It's gonna be great following the journey. Mona, how's things looking behind the scenes at the Ballarat Marathon? This is the second year. You guys must have been stoked with the first year and how it kind of all rolled out last year.
Oh, it was amazing last year, and you were a part of it. And I've never been involved with an event to get so many positive comments afterwards and pats on the back. And it wasn't all me. I take a little bit of the obviously, people think Ballarat Marathon, think of me in hometown, but there's a lot of work went on with the organisers, of which I was a part. But certainly there was so many other people who deserve the credit for putting on what was a very successful event. And, pressure now to it was so successful that, we're feeling some sort of pressure to raise the level again and to another level. And, the numbers are unbelievably good. We've got over 1,000 more than, I think I'm allowed to say, over 1,000 more than we had in total last year. And we're starting to get to be honest, we're starting to get close to caps on a couple of the races already. So people won't know what the caps are. But if you're going to enter the half or the full, I wouldn't hang around, because you're not going to be ringing me for a favour. I'm telling you now. It's going to probably, I sense both of them are going to be sold out at some point. So I don't take that as gospel, but I wouldn't delay your entry. And obviously, from my perspective, Brady and Jace will know, why wouldn't you want to enter those two events now? You've only got 13 weeks. If you're going to run the marathon, let's hope, you've actually entered, and if you do enter, it forces you to then have a commitment. And one thing I'm sure you guys have heard me say before, but, I've got a wedding on, that weekend. I'm not going to be feeling great. Can't we just move the event for me? No, we can't. The date is fixed. It is not moving. It is the 26th and 27th of April. And I love having that fixed date, because what that forces you to do is, I have never, and quote me if someone can tell me that I'm wrong, I've never had the perfect preparation. And yet I had obviously an unbelievably consistent career and some really good preparation leading up to a marathon, but it was never perfect. So you've just got to get to the start line in the best shape you possibly can, having ticked most of the boxes, and then do nothing stupid in the last couple of weeks and nothing stupid in the race, and the rest will look after itself.
Yeah, it's almost a given, isn't it? Like with a marathon prep, you're like, at least one thing's going to go wrong. If you've entered already and you have committed for Ballarat Marathon, just wait for a cold or getting a sickness off your kids or rolling an ankle, or something will happen in the next 13 weeks for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. And the day that the first symptom will come off of the sickness or the injury, the day you enter. So that's just how it works.
Yeah, and I think we can say, and we can cut it out, we'll get some people to listen to this before it goes out, but there's less than 1,000 entries pretty much for the marathon and the half now available. So it's going to sell out for sure, which is big for you guys in Ballarat. When you did get the feedback last year...
Sorry to interrupt, but the reason we're capping it, and, I kind of actually wasn't aware of this myself, to be honest, whilst I'm, token race director and obviously intimately involved. But we employed a crowd control person or measurer who could tell us the capacity that we can have on our courses. Now, that's how much we care about you, Jason Brady, because we want you to have a positive experience. So we're not just going to open and say, we're going to take 15,000, 20,000. No, we know exactly what our courses can cope with, and we are limiting to that to make sure that the participant experience is a good one. So I wanted to make sure I got that up
that's awesome.
Early, because that's so true.
Yeah, that's great. I never thought about that before, because you do hear some horror stories from other races where they'll, run up the back of the half marathons, or they'll have to be on the footpath to get around people and things like that. So that's great that you guys put the participants first, I guess, over the bottom line in a way to, provide that good race experience. Talking about race experience though, was there common feedback last year that a lot of people had the same responses, like things they loved about the first event? And I guess, Jason, this would be good to hear your opinion as well, because I was there running around, and I wonder if we all say the same thing.
Oh, do you want the bads or the goods first? The bads coming through the marathon. Obviously I made the course and confirmed the course and stuff. And I thought that would be a lovely finish. I didn't think about, and I should have ran the course myself, but I didn't realise what an impact that hill would have going through it halfway. So you finish the half and you're coming through, and because we've still got the long climb up Sturt Street for another couple of K, it just ate away at people. So there was obviously a lot of feedback about the hill, and and then we've changed that. So we've taken that out and just extended a little bit up the western end. So we've been able to accommodate that change, which gives us I think, we're selling point now is we're under 100 metres of elevation over the marathon, which is super fast. Obviously, one of the flattest marathons in Australia, probably one of the flattest in the world, to be honest. So that was the negative feedback. The good things were, the closeness of the start line. So you could stay and you could just, in a hotel house with your mates just up the road and wander down to the start. Just that access And I think the personal experience where everyone was treated like they were special, and we really appreciated them being there. So that feedback was really good, and the support out on the course and how beautiful the course was. Obviously, I live here, I've lived here all my life. I think it's a pretty nice course, but there's aspects of it that we take for granted, and people going, wow, I didn't realise Ballarat was such a beautiful city, great boulevards, it was a fantastic course to run. And so the feedback on the courses, all of the courses, was really positive, and that's, it helps because marathons, that second half, that last 10K gets pretty tough. And if it's something that can be enjoyable and it wasn't windy, it was a pretty good day, we're going to take those shots and we're going to use them forever, because it's never going to rain on when we put views up of our course. So they were the really positive things. The crowd, the support, the organisation, just how it made everyone feel like they were welcome. And I think we did pretty well in making everyone's experience, from getting drinks, just the courses, not confusing, and finish line experience and the lead up was all pretty good, I reckon. And social media, we've got really great positive feedback on the social media and the way we've embraced, and even we talk about, if people had some feedback. I'm not sure if you've ever provided feedback to different organisations, but it's unusual to get a response. And it's normally a response like, oh, yeah, we've taken on board what you've said, and, appreciate you getting back to us, blah, blah, blah. In other words, yeah, we're not going to do a thing. Whereas we've actually embraced it. We've listened, we've taken it, we've looked at it. I can honestly say we've seen the feedback that you've given from everybody. And we have, where we can, we have incorporated that feedback. Now, it's interesting, we took the hill out. The next lot of feedback was, oh, we love that hill. Why are you going soft and taking it?
So start finish area still in the same spot? Like, will you still have a little bit of hill? So that start finish up to the Maccas will be kind of like the only hill on Sturt Street there. Yep.
Yeah.
It's hardly a hill too, isn't it?
You will now go, I don't know, do we know the course? Am I allowed to tell you? So we're up and back on
I think the course map's out.
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah.
We're allowed, so we're not going down towards the Mall and doing that little last hill. We're just going up and back on Lydiard Street, and that's why it's slightly shorter doing that turn. You might have seen the video we were doing where we're stepping it out of Lydiard Street, and now we've got to go a little bit further up the other end of Sturt Street. Luckily, we had a bit of buffer up there, so just past the golf course, and that narrow little bit will be a little bit longer and narrow, and at some stage we'll try and ease that congestion up there. But for this year, that's how the course will be. Yeah, and the halves 1 lap marathons too. The 10K, we've made some changes because you know what, and I think I can share this with the listeners. Hopefully, I won't get in trouble, but if I do, bad luck. We've heard some feedback that the second lap of lake around the lake was a little bit lonely, so we're trying to get some entertainment around there. But we're also moving the 10K around there so that if you are, this won't be you, Jason, so you won't have to worry, but if you're out there having a good experience for 5 or 6 hours, you might have some people around you from that 10K event. So that will give you a bit of just a bit of human interaction when you're running that second lap of the lake. So we've also accommodated that in people's feedback. So just some things like that to make the experience for everyone a bit better.
Yeah, great. Jason, what stood out to you last year and why did you decide to do it again this year?
Yeah, being local, it was good. I was really surprised with, like, you had your name on your bib, and I don't know whether they probably do it, but the amount of people saying, keep going, Jason, especially the second lap when there was no half marathoners. The amount of people just using my name, I'll be like looking around like, do they know me? Or the support was unreal. So getting through that, I did feel the second hill, like going up Sturt the second time, but more, that long thing. But I think that's fine to have some sort of challenge in there. Like, I didn't necessarily mind it. It was just, I slowed down for it, thinking, all right, I better slow down. I'll pick it up afterwards. But never running a marathon before, I got to that turnaround and I wasn't picking it up. So I just stayed that sort of slower pace for the last lap. The lake, I really liked, like being a local growing up here, you run it through school, like every sporting event, you go into the lake, you're running around it. If you do any runs, you go into the lake, you're running around it. So I really like the idea of, we sort of finish, you go around, you're coming back, you're like, all right, all I've got to do is the lake and then downhill down Sturt Street. So in the mind, I think that last 8 to 10 Ks is really good because it's like, I've done this 1,000 times. get through the lake. That's why there's a bit of carnage on the lake when I was coming through, but and then downhill, down Sturt. So I think the course, the way it runs, is really good. There wasn't really any problems. I got there late. I did that thing that Steve mentioned, like I had mates who were running, they had a business down the road, so we all just stayed there. We used the toilets, had something to eat, had something to drink, walked up, but just left it too late, so I couldn't get anywhere near the paces. So it took me 90 seconds to get to the start line. So that's something I'd do different this year, is just get there a little bit earlier, get next to a pacer, just to make sure I'm in that right area, because I was just overtaking people for a good, like probably the first 10 Ks. Went through halfway and thought, gee, half marathon's a good distance. And then, struggled through the last sort of 8 Ks. But I loved it. As soon as I finished, I'm like, I'm doing that again.
It is great having the half marathoners there for the first lap too. I'm someone, and I think the course allows this too. You can break the course down into different sections, as you said. It's like, all right, get up Sturt Street, get to Vic Park, get out of Vic Park, get back to the lake, get your lake lap done, get to the finish line, do it all again. It just felt like it was easier course mentally than some of these big out and backs we kind of see in some of the courses. I think the course is great mentally as well.
We did think about, we've had some feedback on, most feedback's been pretty good, having the half and the marathon together. And one of the advantages, Jason, I think, and you've mentioned the paces, what we found was a lot of people were using the paces in the half because, they could use them in because you can double up. So we only need half the paces because they can do both jobs for the first half. So things like that was good feedback as well, I think. So we thought about changing it and separating them, and at some point we might have to if we know the numbers improve or continue to grow. But at this point in time, we thought that having both together, we will try and clear the finish line. There's a slight bit of confusion coming up the finish line. We wanted to have the half marathon finishes, the marathon finishes, half marathon finishes, and then the ongoing marathon runners. But we didn't quite have that coned or sectioned as well as what we'd like. So hopefully that finish line experience will be improved this year as well. So some good feedback from you, Jason, and you, Brady, about some aspects of the event that I think we can work on and improve. Never ideal, never the best marathon in the world. So we're doing all we can to improve it every year.
It's good like that. I've got a question for you before you give any more feedback, Brady. Something I did during training, and I did, as you said, in the long run, I'll do the course before it in some of my long runs. Would you ever do that? Because I had people saying to me, because I did it last year as well, like, you're crazy. Why would you do that? But then other people are like, yeah, that's a good idea. You'll know the course. So there's people that actually run a lot. Yeah. Is that something you would do or you would avoid?
This is a question for Mona. He's probably,
I don't know. I'm happy. Do you want to go first, Brady?
I think I've always found when I've done overseas marathons and not having a clue where I'm going can be a good and a bad thing. Like something about not knowing, the course is flat. You're in Berlin or Chicago or Valencia. So you're like, there's no hills that are going to surprise you. But at the same time, I think having actually a bit of familiarity around, okay, I know this lake, the next bit. I remember saying to Moose actually on the bike last year, I was like, when the F does this lake finish? Because he'd lived there for years. So he's like, oh no, it's just around this corner. And it was like one of those things that once I knew that, I was like, okay. Whereas it just felt like it was going forever on that second lap. So I think having some local knowledge is super important. I also remember talking to an athlete I coach in the days leading in last year, and he lives there, and he was talking about even the wind trends, about the wind we had last year was a good wind because the Vic Park gardens, is it the gardens near the lake would block the wind, so you wouldn't get much of a headwind, but then you get a huge tailwind. So I think little things like that, marathons are a kind of event of, 1%ers. And if you can get some of those course knowledge, weather knowledge right, it's going to help you on race day for sure.
Yeah, I think the problem with you, Brady, is you're used to that Lake Waroona in Bendigo. This is a real lake, mate. It's like
only 1.5K around that one, yeah.
It's a bit longer. Interestingly, Jason, not without big noting myself, but most marathons I ran, I thought I was going to win them or I was a chance of winning them. So I always like to at least do a visual or do a drive over. I'd often get a visual of the course from someone else 12 months out, so I could do a bit of viewing of it beforehand. And then we would get there. We would always do the last 8K because, things go wrong in the first 20K. You can probably, it doesn't matter. But the last 8K was where it was significant. You're starting to lose the ability to really concentrate. And so you don't want to have to be thinking about, is there a hill here? Is there a left turn? God, if the guys go now, do I need to go? And I can honestly say in Berlin, we picked a section in the course. It's not the same course as it is now. We went through the Brandenburg Gate after 3K. So we finished, and there was a section at about 5K to go, just through the drink station, where you actually turned left and right. And Chris Wardler and I in the car said, this is it. We're going to make sure that this is the point where if I go, I get out of eyesight, and that can be enough to get a break and end up winning. And as it turns out, I ran that 8K a few times in the lead up when we were in Berlin, and it just gave me the confidence. And I did go there and got away. And I think Shahanga might have been holding me. I'm not sure if I was going away in the last sort of K or so, but I certainly made a good enough break to get that victory. And that was because I'd done the recce on the course. But I would never do the whole course because I never ran 42K. I mean, I did a 3-hour run 6 weeks out, which was probably a marathon, to be honest. But I wouldn't do it on the course per se, just because, it'd be too busy or I didn't have access to it. So, on this course, I probably would because I'm local, but I intended running the half marathon just one loop so that at least I'm familiar with the loop. And because it's 2 loops here, I would encourage everyone who's running the marathon or the half to do that course because you can do it at least once for the marathon runners and they've experienced it. You just got to get around the second time. And as we all know, second time's a hell of a lot harder than the first, but at least you're familiar with where you are.
If you're pacing it right too, the first lap can almost be like the tour, you know what I mean? Just like a course tour, and then you can hurt on the second lap. If you're hurting at the end of the first lap, you're in a bit of trouble.
Your own strife. And interestingly, I don't mind some surprises on the course occasionally. When you're running along and you kind of go, oh, wow, I didn't realise that was there. And you're looking around thinking, that was good. Or like you say, Joe, someone yells out to you and you go, how do they know my name? And then you look down and go, oh, that's right, I've got it on my bib. Or, so little surprises like that actually break it up. It's a very long time. You're out there for 3 hours and 28 minutes. You cannot concentrate and focus for that amount of time. That is impossible. I used to disassociate, so I'd try to look around a little bit and just have a bit of a break. But then when, I'd click back on if I came to a drink station or if someone was surging and then I had full concentration because I wasn't just sort of in this holding. It was almost like heart rates. I was either kind of on just jogging heart rate where I had plenty up my sleeve, or when I was on, high heart rate and really focused. And that worked really well for me. So I don't mind that sort of having a course that you can kind of enjoy and get a few surprises around. So take that aspect as well.
I think
that's where the course entered. Oh, sorry, Jace, you go.
Nice. I was taking your mind off it. What I like for that 3.5 hours, I really like that you're coming back past people as well. So you do it a few times, like going up and down Sturt, but even on that pleasant turn to the lake. So I'm looking at like Tommy DeCanto, Brady coming past, or looking for mates that were slower or faster. And I think that was probably a good breakup. I didn't even think of it at the time, but just as you said it, I was doing that, like looking across the other side of the road, like who's coming, how fast are they going, and looking for the paces, how far off this pacer am I?
Yeah, very good point. And that's the human interaction that marathon running allows you to do. And a lot of other sport engagements, you don't get to have that. So that's a really important point, and good to have the listeners out there acknowledging, and for you to acknowledge that, Jason.
That Pleasant Street was like Tour de France last year, Mona. Like the crowd, I know first year events, so like might have been a bit different, and not expect, maybe it's a good spot to expect crowds because you can see them on both sides, but they were creeping onto the road. And then it was like, I remember getting like goosebumps because they're like it's like the 39K mark on the way back, and just people are so close to you and people coming the opposite way. And that was a very, very special part of the course I remember last year. And I guess that's your point about that, how the local community is maybe going to come a bit involved and with the entertainment, like you're looking to include on the course this year, which can be an awesome distraction as well when you hear a big boombox or a local band or whatever it is you're planning.
Yeah, and I think that's where we've because we're so well known here, it's not like Ballarat Marathon's going to get lost in the Ballarat community. There would be no one, I shouldn't say no one. There'll be very few people who won't know that Ballarat Marathon is now on, and it's, I'm even seeing people out now, a lot of people out running, New Year's resolution, all that sort of stuff. So there will be this ability for the community to be involved. And they just do it kind of, you don't even sometimes have to plan it. They just do it because they want to be involved with this event. They've got friends out there that they want to support. So we will increase a little bit of the entertainment consciously, but I think just the growth in the event will let that happen, just grow naturally.
Yeah. Should we hear some training from Jason Mona? You want to hear his training week from last week?
Indeed. You want to go back to last Monday?
Monday through to Sunday.
So can't lie. You've got to make sure this is true, Jason. Don't make it up.
It is, yeah.
Before we hear the numbers, Jace, just give us some more stuff about your life. So maybe your age. We know what your job is. You got some kids, other responsibilities in life, just so we can give us some context before we hear the training numbers, things that can impact your running, I guess.
Yeah. So 39 years old, so 40 this year. Started running. Always ran a little bit, but never more than 15 to 20 Ks a week. So 2 to 3 runs, seeing training plans for marathon and seeing that they're your choice is 4, 5, 6 or 7 days. I'm like, where's the 2 to 3? And just not comprehending that was the thing. It's stepped up so much since about August last year. I sort of decided, I knew because working at Fed and knowing that this event was coming, I was like, all right, I'm going to start. I just started walking one day, running the next, walking one day, running, and just building it up like that until the training plans come out. So, that's sort of how it kicked off. Married with 3 kids. So youngest boy, Romeo's 5. So he starts school next week. And then 2 daughters, so Sophia and Alessia, they're 10 and 9. So Alessia had her birthday last week. So pretty full on. So it's normally runs. Yeah. Wife works for herself, so she's a graphic designer, freelance, so she works at home. I'm out at the uni, so I'll run. I'll be trying to get home by 7, or just after 7, and then the kids' lunches and get them out the door and take them to school. So the limiting factor is that going to bed early enough to wake up early enough while not sabotaging a relationship at the same time by sleeping too early and just juggling the whole doing things with kids, doing just stuff with the family, work as well, obviously full time, managing that aspect and getting enough recovery and other things in. Really lucky that there's a gym at the uni, so I could run there at lunch or do you could double there easily. I go for swims sometimes. There's a gym there, so there's that option, which I think does help in my life. And also running with people that are tradies and stuff like that. I'll run, go home, have breakfast, do the lunches, and then go to work and sit down at a desk. It'd be much harder to do the morning run if you're going to work at 7 or 8 o'clock, I reckon.
On a shovel.
Yeah, and on your feet all day. So I think that's an advantage I have. The age factor's not, and the kids factor, and everything's not. But that's one aspect that does work in my favour. I did set up a routine as well before I started doing it to make sure that I got up and went. So I put my clothes out in the lounge room, shoes out in the lounge room the night before. I put my phone in the ensuite and set the alarm in there. So I have to get up, turn the alarm off, and then go get my clothes in the lounge room. So I sort of make it so it's as easy as possible to make sure I get up, and actually once I'm up, then I'm out. But that's.
And was that 5:30, or did you jump out of bed and run pretty much straight away, or did you actually have it? You did, right? Okay.
Last year I'd be up at just before 6, and I'd do a lot of the runs by myself. Where as we're talking about people seeing us, so I'm at Pleasant Street corner. This girl Abby saw me. Now she lives on an angle from my house. And, I don't really know her, but obviously you see each other. Her dad runs, and they have a running group that goes from the IGA in Ballarat North on a Wednesday. So it was only at the marathon. She saw me, told her dad. Next time her dad walked the dog past my house, it's like, oh, you run. You want to come join this group? So now I run with them every Wednesday. It's just stuff like that. That's that Ballarat community thing. But also people seeing you out on the track. That's so now I've got a coach now. So one of Brady's run to PB coaches, Chris Armstrong's coached me. But sort of having that phone call with him, I used to just get up, get dressed, go out the door. He's got me eating food, like just protein ball or something, having a little bit of drink, and then doing some dynamic stretching and a few things before I go as well. So I've been really lucky, definitely at my age, I didn't get really injured at all. There was one 3-day period where I didn't run, but otherwise I did every single session in the training plan for last year. So that could have just been luck, or the fact that I didn't have many Ks on my legs leading into it. Where this year I do think there's more niggles and stuff, so it's like I'm being a bit more cautious on that and a bit more strength and conditioning work to go in there.
Have you done many other races other than Ballarat last year?
Ballarat was the first. I did a half in Wangaratta in 2018, and that was off like 12 weeks training a few days a week. And then last year I did the AV 15K in Ballarat. Yeah. And Ryan Warren, who's a lecturer out of the uni, he just paced me, and we went, I think it was like 4:11 pace. I should know, but that was like flying for me. And I was just hanging on to him for probably 13 Ks, dropped back a bit in that 14th K, and then was able to finish strong. I did that run pre down at Albert Park, and that was really cool. Yeah. So that was good because they had like the under 40 people first, like under 40-minute people. So I got to watch that, and then like did my race, and I just completely got that wrong. So I'm thinking I'll watch people, and I'm like, how do they go under 40 minutes? And judging like a book by its cover, which probably shouldn't do. And then so I went out at like 3:45 pace with this group, and for 3Ks, and was feeling so good. Got to the 4th K, did 4 minutes, I reckon, and was dead. Got through the 5th K, looked like it was 2 laps. I literally, like probably 3 or 4 times, was like, stop the watch and just go over your fence and just go home. Like I was so close to just calling it. Yeah, it was. I reckon it still could be even 5K PB. But then I went to like 4:20 pace for the second lap. But it was good learning for it. And it was a real, I really loved the event, and it was the only event I did that wasn't around the lake at Ballarat. So, and then there's a community one, Peaches Run, which is put on by the Petrie family. So they lost like a family member to mental health. Would be a few years ago. So I did that run as well, and that was a community event run. And that was really cool. So it's 3 laps to the lake. Flogged myself with a few other of the dads from school. But that was probably all I did apart from a few park runs.
Okay, good.
It's a lot, though. I think that, and it sounds like you've learnt, your pace. I think pacing's a really important thing, and I reckon that's one of the things that regular training does do for you, Brady and Jason, is it actually, you start to learn, what pacing's about, and obviously you've got technology and stuff we didn't have, but I think that's an important thing. And the one thing in the marathon, I think will tell everybody that, you think you go through halfway 2 or 3 minutes quicker than you should, and wow, you've banked sort of 3 minutes. Let me tell you, that'll cost you 20 minutes at the back end because you're going too hard. So the pacing in a marathon is exceptional. I ran pretty well for a half, as people will know, and you didn't have to pace yourself in a half. You just run hard. In a marathon, you absolutely have to pace yourself. And I reckon that training and having some races where you maybe get that wrong or you're a bit ambitious is really beneficial, because better to do it in the training runs or these other races that'll lead up races, and then hopefully that means it won't happen on the day.
Yeah, Chris has got me doing a lot of effort stuff, so it's not looking at the watch as much as possible. And I think I probably run too fast, for where I'm at and like what I'm trying to do. So he's trying to just go on heart rate a little bit, but just on effort and just mixing that up and really trying to get me to feel where that's it. So I'm not perfect at that, but I think that's beneficial than just setting a pace and looking at your watch. And then you look at some of Brady's runs and some of my runs, and I'm like, I'm going easy I was doing them like lower than 5 minute pace. And then Brady's got, and even like Andy and that are doing 4:40s. And I'm like, well, they're over an hour quicker than me for a marathon. Maybe just drop the ego a little bit and slow down. So yeah, just learning those things, I think too, it's taken a while, but.
Don't go there, because Brady and I, or Moose and I, might spend another 2 hours arguing that point, Jason. You're kind of on my training theory, but there's a few others out there that probably don't really follow that at this point in time. That's fine. I love it.
We were talking about that on the weekly show this week, Bonner. And that's what I'll remind me to talk to you about half marathon stuff before we finish, because I've got a question about that stuff. But we were trying to work out how easy, like, were your easy days, yours and Deeks and that, because we were saying that, hey, Andy still is pretty easy for his long runs. Like he'll still be over the hills, but he's got the GPS data now, and it's like 4:15. And I've done a lot of running with him when he's not smashing me up hills. Whereas you guys were a bit more aggressive on your easiest Sunday, but then were your easy days super easy?
I don't reckon we're ever too aggressive on any of the Sundays or long runs.
Well, Moose reckons you were trying to drop him up hills every time you ran with him back in the Ballarat days when he was there.
I will say, one thing I will say is, to get a bit of quality, we ran in the forest where there were some good hills. So I would push a hill, but then I would always then just jog over the top and let the pack form back up again. So I used that as a bit. So I got a little bit of quality out of the run. But the number one thing that I wanted and enjoyed was the company. And I was not going to be, if I buried you 3 Sundays in a row, you'd go, I don't think I'm going to go back anymore because mine is just burying me out there. And I want you to come back. So I would do it. So I was lowest common denominator. I was running 200 Ks a week, although GPS tells me it was probably about 167, or my training buddies, Ash and the boys keep telling me. But in the end, and 180 K of that was just jogging. And so I had such a massive base. And if you're doing 180K, you can't do that at a high quality. So I used to have the rule, and Chris Wardler and I, when he first started coaching me, this is how old we are now, we worked in miles. And I ran 7-minute miles, which is 4:22K pace. And that's my morning run, 35 minutes, for 8K. So I was running, at a pretty casual pace for most of my training. But let me tell you, and it was almost like race simulation or a time trial. My Tuesday night fartlek, my 400s on Thursday, and my hill course on a Saturday, they were pure quality. They were bloody fast. No one kept up in those. No one.
Yeah, hard days hard.
Yep, very,
you got to
very
recover,
hard.
absorb it, and go again.
Minor races and then recover and go again. We did 3 sessions a week, and I know now most people are doing 2 because they can't handle that longer load. But my sessions were only obviously 20 minutes on a Tuesday, 15 or 14 on a Thursday, and then about 22 on a Saturday morning. So not long on our legs, but real quality when we went. So go hard, go home.
And more than one way to skin a cat too. We've kind of discovered over the years with all the different training philosophies. If you're looking for a brilliant running experience this year, then the Running Warehouse Ballarat Marathon is the event for you. Whether you're a 2-hour 20 marathoner or a 6-hour runner, we invite you to come and try our flat and fast courses. There's just 98 metres of elevation for the full marathon and 49 metres of elevation for the half marathon. Our long races start and finish out the front of the historic Ballarat Town Hall, situated on the best preserved Gold Rush era streetscape in the world. In only our second year, we're aiming for the Ballarat Marathon to be one of the most fun and friendliest regional running festivals in the world. We're also striving to be one of the most professional events on the calendar. Each of the courses has been certified to World Athletic Standards, meaning you can run a Boston or New York qualifying time in Ballarat. This year, the Running Warehouse Ballarat Marathon is also a qualifying event for the 2026 World Marathon Major Age Group Championships. And we have a team of 50 pacers who will help you achieve your goal time. On top of all that, we're kicking off a new partnership with Athletics Australia, which means our elite mile race has just become the Australian Road Mile Championships. Thousands of people have already signed up for the event. If you're one of them, thank you. If you're thinking about signing up, now's the time to do it. Head to ballaratmarathon.com.au today. The Ballarat Marathon is proudly supported by Running Warehouse Australia, Federation University, the City of Ballarat, the Courier, Ballarat City Subaru, One Running, and Fix Nutrition.
And it's changed now. If I was training now, I would definitely be doing different training. Absolutely. And I would not be doing that training. I would definitely be doing those quality longer runs. We even spoke, and I think I was riding. I don't think I was running with the boys this week. We talked about I would probably do more 42K runs. I'm kind of thinking we actually run 42K. And yet I only did that once. Imagine, I'm about to turn up at the Olympic Games and run 42K, and my body and my mind's going, this is longer than you've actually ran 6 weeks ago. But apart from that, it's the longest time you've raced. This is, the World Championships last year. This probably could be a bit tough on my body. So I think just maybe getting exposure to the actual race distance is something that maybe, I did do 35K on a Sunday morning and 10 that night. So I was kind of getting there in 2 runs. But just that mindset of being able to cover the actual distance, because the first thing I worried about when I was running a marathon, Jason and Brady, was finishing it. And, I wanted to win it, but I had to beat the marathon first. And once I'd won them, so if I got to 35K, I'm thinking, yep, I've got this. I'm going to do the marathon. I've got it today. Then I became competitive, still in the lead pack most of the time, obviously. And then I'd take off because I knew I was going to make it. And you can be aggressive when you know you've got the distance covered. And that's why the one thing I say to people is marathon training is ultimately all about distance. And I don't want to laugh at you, Jason, but I think you said you were doing 15 to 20K. Mate, that doesn't even count. That's not even.
No. That was before this really kicked in.
That was last year. Yeah. We got him right for this year. He's got to document it this year, so hopefully he's doing a bit more than that.
I did plenty of Ks in the lead up last year, but before I started, I'd never done anything like that. Like I'd never gone over, and I'd run like a few times a week or 2 or 3. I'd never gone over 800 Ks in a year. Where, like that'd be. I reckon I did 3,200 last year. So, I was doing that every quarter. So, it's a huge change.
What did you do, Brady?
Doubled it.
I'm a 7,000 man, Honor. Around about that.
My biggest ever, 1996 Atlanta Olympic year, 8,551 Ks, which again, the boys will tell you was about the same as you, 7,000 we're now measuring them.
Yeah,
but that's mileage you need to do, so that you think I don't know what you break that down to per day, but, it's a massive amount of Ks. You just need to get those Ks in your legs and then top it off with, your sub 20-minute park run, Jason, and then the rest of it's just doing those races where you learn how to pace yourself. And I think getting used to hurting, I think when you sort of get to 30K, we all think, can't this just not hurt anymore? Can't this just be easy? This is going to be my greatest race ever. The last 12K, I'm going to run the Ballarat Marathon in 2025. I'm going to get to 30K and I'm going to feel fantastic. I'm going to roll that last 12K home and it's going to be the greatest race of my life. You know what? You're dreaming. That's not going to happen. So, you try to get your body used to the pain, the hurt, and the capacity for your body to know you're going to get there and you're not going to slow down much because you've got the training in your legs, so you have the confidence to be able to maintain that effort for the last 12K. Whilst it is hurting and you're feeling fatigued, you still have the capacity to keep going. And that's the fascination of the marathon. You win when you cross the finish line and you've put up with the hurt, you've pushed through the fatigue, and you've still been able to get the best out of your body just as you've crossed the finish line.
Ironically, I ran, I think, 12 marathons, and Ballarat was the only marathon when I actually did get to 30K going, it feels easy today. My watch is lying to me. Like, I could sprint like the last 3 or 4K. I was shocked when I saw you at the finish line. I'm like, I just ran 2:19 in Ballarat. Like, what's going on here? So I was shocked. So maybe there is some magic in Ballarat. I was very happily shocked. Yeah. There could be some magic on course out there.
Yeah, no, and we love the stories that you tell, and that's a fascinating. Sometimes we hear the doom and gloom. I remember, I don't know if I've told this story. Sorry, I don't feel like I'm telling my stories, but Troopy was, he's living Ballarat, and I was helping him out and all that, and he was about to run his first marathon. I can remember it. We're running down Sebastopol Street, about 10 blocks from here, and he's asked me, talking about the marathon. He's about to run his first marathon in London, so I can't remember it was. I think it was London, and I'm going, you're going to get to 30K, it's going to hurt, and, you're going to really have to call in everything, and going to be doing this and that, and it was doom and gloom, it's going to be hard, it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And he just turned to me and he said, Mona, will you just shut the F up? I'm looking forward to this race. I'm actually keen on doing this race. You're just stop talking it down, hey, start giving me a bit of positivity. And I think that's true. Sometimes because I'm so experienced and I know what it's like, I've got a kind of I feel like I want to let you know so much stuff, the good and the bad, but the end of the day, if you prepare properly, you learn so much about yourself in the training that race day is just the icing on the cake because of all the work and all the learning and all the development and the friendships you make, the mental health you get, the well-being, all that physical benefit you get out of it. That all gets put on public display at Ballarat Marathon on the 27th of April. You cross that finish line, you take all the accolades you can because they are personally deserved.
Yeah, well put. Let's hear this week, Jace. What are you doing from this? Would be 14 to 13
Monday,
weeks out?
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
Maybe 15, 14 weeks out last week.
Yeah. So Monday the 13th was the first day. And I do, I am a lot different to the running community. I do Monday, Thursday sessions and a Saturday long run. So it means my long run, normally a couple of people can get along with it, but I like to get it out of the way. I do it early on a Saturday and I've got the whole weekend to do whatever else, whether it's kids sport or just hang around. And then on Monday, I normally do a lunch run rather than a morning run as well. So it just gives me a couple of days there. But so on Monday 13th, did a progressive run. I was still down in Torquay from the holidays, so I was just on the Torquay foreshore, did it alone. Bought some Nike Zoom Fly 6s, so I got them off Toby down in Torquay, down at Moose's shop. The plan was 15 minutes at half effort with a 3-minute jog, 10 minutes at 10K effort with a 2-minute jog, and then 5 minutes at a 5K effort. Chris did put in there, don't go too hard early because you won't be able to go at the end. And the first effort I did the first K in the first effort was 4:14. And it was that was too quick. I slowed it back to 4:22s, but I was really just trying to go on effort. So I wasn't looking at the watch, but when you look back at it, I went way too quick. So the second effort started at 4:16 and dropped to 4:23. And I was running probably 4:31 pace by the end. And then the third effort for the 5K, I started at 4:16 as well. So I went the exact same pace as the 10K effort and slower than the half for the first K. So I really just got it completely wrong. I closed out in about 4:10 pace, but I was pushing a bit harder by then. So yeah, essentially I went out too early, too hard too early. And I think the accumulation of just all that effort got me in the end. I was, cooked. I just couldn't go much more. It was probably a warm day as well. Had pretty good weather down the beach this year. The third K, I did 3Ks before it and 3Ks after it as well. And my third K in the warm-up was 4:37. I only went back and looked at that when I was making notes. And then my last K in my cool-down was 4:37 as well. So, I think it's just running along the Torquay foreshore a bit of, there's heaps of people there. You just running past people or you naturally get rolling a bit quicker. But, yeah, I just got it completely wrong.
This is your about pace. This is what Mona was just talking about. These are great lessons to learn 14 weeks out.
Yeah. So I was finishing going, this is going to look as with Chris looking at obviously he's looking at it and commenting. I'm like, that's in my head going, he's going to see this and be like, I told you not to do that. or thinking in his head at least, I told you not to do that. And he's gone and done exactly that. Next day was my daughter's birthday. So yeah, no run. Only run was down to Macca's to get some hotcakes in the morning, but normally have the special days off. So any birthdays or, Christmas, all that sort of stuff, normally try and take the day off. Wednesday was hills, so easy hills. As I said, with Coxie that lives on an angle from me, there's a guy Damo that organises the run and he maps it all, and then Campbell was along as well. So that goes from Ballarat North, we went through Narina, through the bush there, so on the trails. So some of it, some of it's pretty tricky trails, you slow down a bit. We do regroup a lot, and that's good, not in a harsh way to them or anything. They go at a good, easy pace. So it's actually one that I probably get right. There was 228 metres of climbing. Nice and easy pace. Went 5:42 pace. It was just under 12 and a half Ks. And heart rate was 131 for the average, which is, another thing I'm trying to do. So on the easy runs is keep it between sort of 135, 145 is sort of the advice I've been given to try and hold me back a little bit. Thursday was just 65 minutes easy. So I did that by myself. I went from my place to the lake, around and then back. So you can sort of make that loop be anywhere from 12 to 14 Ks, depending if you do the whole lake or just bits of it. That was in Also, I wore the Pegasus 40s for that. Comfortable pace. I didn't wear a heart strap that day, and the heart rate was saying I was like getting to a 189 and average 162, but it was nothing like that. Average pace was 454. Got the reminder in the comments to slow down, be well rested.
I was just about to say that, because they're like both the easy days, those days, and one of them's at 542 pace, and the other one's at 454 pace. So it's like, that's got rolling by yourself. You need to run with more people more often, I think, that slow you down intentionally.
Yeah, so that's where the Wednesday one's really good. They go at that 5:30, I'd say. We probably average across the weeks. And then there's other runs I do that I've got to slow down. Yeah, basically. The Friday run was super easy. So I wore really like Pegasus 38s. I like them more than the 40s. But I put those on because
are they the 40s I've got on, I reckon?
40s. No, you've got a lifetime Nike sponsored athlete in this call.
Yeah.
So it's good with your Nike references so far.
Yeah. I wore the Invincible 3s, so I wear them on Wednesdays. So just in this podcast, we can just say that you do have to have a different pair of shoes for every day. And we just play that section to Louise, my wife.
Life lessons. Yeah.
Yeah. She might not get this far into it, but just in case.
Crop it, send it to her.
Yeah. So the Friday was super easy. So I did that with Ricky and Tony. So there's a group of us that do Tuesday, Fridays. There's not many back at the moment. It's normally 8Ks and it's normally about 5-minute pace. So I just was going to be like, I'll go 3K with you guys and 3K back. Adam, who is from Ballarat Marathon, also come along and he decided to jump on with me and just do sort of 6-ish. So super easy pace was the thing. We did just over 6 or nearly 7Ks. We went 5:05 average pace, so again quicker than was meant to, but we're just talking Ballarat Marathon a lot of the way. Average heart rate was 145, which I thought was a good result. All these runs were sort of just getting ready to have, energy in my legs for Saturday. So that was the long run. 26Ks was the long run, 2x5K efforts in there by effort, not pace. So really just wanted me to feel it out and feel what I thought my marathon pace sort of effort would be. I did do the track. I wore the Nike Zoomfly 6s again for this one. So started with Ricky that I ran with the previous day, started at Cafe Common Ground, which is up Ballarat North, ran to the lake, around and back. So that's 10Ks. Then had a bit of food and drink from the car, and then did the rest by myself. So ran down to Sturt Street. It sort of went about 450 pace, I reckon it was, for that first 10Ks. I slowed it down then for the next 2Ks because the effort was starting at 12S. I saw Adam again waiting at Town Hall as I was about to start the effort. So is it Brad King? Is that the guy from Melbourne Marathon?
Right. Yeah, Melbourne Marathon.
So they were running together that day, and I didn't realise they were running the course as well. So they were just like 500 metres behind me most of the way. So we did see each other a few times. So I did the track. I started on Sturt Street. I went up, and that's where the effort started. So as you hook around onto Sturt, up, and it probably got me halfway through the Vic Park loop for the first 5Ks, and I went 434, 432, 432, 429, 424. I then had 1K off in between, which I went at 5:09 for recovery, and then started again and went 427, 433, 436, 434, and 438. And then, kept all the cool down Ks were under 5-minute pace as well. I had that drink at 10Ks and a gel. I had another gel at 18, or just before 18, before I started the second effort. I was really happy with the run. The heart rate was under 165. I think it went slightly above on a couple of the last Ks in the effort. It was the second fastest half marathon according to my Strava, and fastest according to Garmin. So that was good. I did get my personal record on the reverse moose loop as well, which that come up. So that's as you go through Vic Park, you go, I guess the reverse moose loop is one of the segments that you go through. The last couple of Ks were much tougher than like sort of previous runs, but the week before I'd run in Torquay, and I was meant to be a 2-hour run, and I got back to my starting point, which is like the sundial at Anderson Street. I got there at 1:50, like 1 hour 50, and it was hot, and I was just wrecked and I stopped. And I like probably half hour later, I regretted it. I was like, just do the extra 10 minutes and slow down a bit. So for this run, I made sure that I wasn't getting back until I'd done 26K, so I couldn't really stop. And then I've put together I've got an ice bath for Christmas. So I put that together and jumped in that. I thought that was a good little habit to get into. And the kids also jumped into that and thought it was a novelty. So that took a bit of the shine off it. But so it was 26 Ks at 4:45 was the total run. And the total last week was 72.3 Ks, average 4:58 minutes a K across the whole week and 610 metres of elevation.
Good. Is the goal going to be like when you're hovering around that 4:30 pace? I think that's right on like 3:10 marathon. Or is it like too far out to call? Like, are you looking for, an 18-minute PB?
Yeah, I am. It's probably too far out to call for anyone with sanity or like with anyone experienced and stuff. I'd love to do 3 hours 10 or under. Whether that's achievable, I'm not sure. And but that's
that's a massive improvement. So, I would think, be realistic. I would think you think that, don't tell us that. Would be my word of advice. Now it's out there is some expectation. I'd say, like you ran 3:28 last year. Wow, if you could get under 3:20, that'd be fantastic. But in your own mind, what you really want, and you set your training at that, and you just put up with, the people that say, hey, you're running you said you were going to run bloody 3:20. This is, 3:10 pace. It must, your watch must be wrong. So just put up with that and you'll be fine. But that's a word of advice, because that public expectation for family and friends and people you're running with can be a bit of an issue as you get close, especially if, get a little niggle or you might get sick or something happens, you have, some interruptions, then that allows you to have a bit of real room. That's warning advice for everybody, I reckon. Brady, that's probably not bad advice, just generally, I reckon.
I misspoke. I meant to say 3 hours 20. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's you can just different tier goals. A, B, C goal. A goals PB, B goals 3:20, C goals 3:15, and then like A plus day is under 3:10.
Yeah, 3:10 is everything going right. Yeah,
that's the plan A and plan B story. Chris Wardlaw and we always had plan A. It's going to break the world record, win comfortably, feel great, cross the finish line. That was plan A. Plan B was there is no plan B. There is no plan A. Plan A is never going to work, so you just got to be flexible to actually just be able to cope with your body on the day, the opposition, what happens, and the conditions. There's some things that are out of your control, and Joseph, it's headwind the wrong way around Lake Wendouree or out Sturt Street, it's a westerly, then that's going to impact your time. And I often think it's relative to other people. And you run, and you might have finished 50th in the event last year, and so you finished 45th this year and you finished 2 minutes slower. That's an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to go by percentage with the crowd too, I suppose, because there's going to be 3 times as many people running it this year. So I'm not sure what number I'll have to look up what number I finished. Wasn't in the top 50 though, that's for sure.
I'm just picking numbers, but I think that's be realistic. These are the things that I can talk about that people won't get unless you have a conversation with me. And, I think it's good to get that out there for a lot of people. It's, it's information. There's lots, you can read a lot about training and what you've got to do this and do that. These little gems are things you won't hear unless you're listening tonight.
Yeah. And I'm happy to be the guinea pig and for people to learn those mistakes that I'm making or anything like that. It's not an issue.
They're not mistakes. They're just experiences that you're learning from.
Learnings. Have you got anything else like that, Mona? It's not so much.
You reckon, Brady?
Yeah. If you don't learn from them, but have you got anything else like that? Like for that, I don't know, maybe the 10 to 14 week out period that's on your radar that you always like, because this is great from Jason. He's done 2 weeks of, 2 hour plus, pretty much 2 hour long runs, and then one with effort in it too. So I feel like running wise is ticking all the boxes. But was there anything else that jumps out at you that any of the listeners who are also in Jason's shoes that are this far out should be thinking about?
I reckon, interestingly, you're sort of just a bit too far out yet. It seems such a long way away. So I actually I know this will sound a little bit weird, and you probably just come back from holidays, so it's probably not something that you're thinking about, but a quiet week in there is not a bad option right about now, because once you get sort of inside 10, I reckon the 4 to 10 weeks, that 6 weeks is crucial. You can't say can't, but you don't want to have any interruptions. That's where you want to get your rock solid. And you're fit enough then that you're doing some quality sessions. And when you're doing those tempo runs and those race hit outs, they are giving you a genuine indication of what pace you will run in the marathon. So you need to do them under race conditions. You want to be fit. You don't want to be sick. You want to be training hard, because they're all the things that are going to give you the information that you can execute on the day. And I reckon that's 10 to 4 weeks. So now you're kind of just a little bit too far out and you're a bit tired. You wake up in the morning and you think, oh, this race is so far away. When's it going to be here? I can tell you, when you get to 4 and 5 weeks out, you'll be going, geez, I wish I had a few more weeks. But right now, you're pushing it down the road pulling it back, because you're thinking, wow, I've just got so long and I'm getting a bit flat and it's a bit same old. So mix it up with a few different things. Not so much. You don't miss your training. Maybe you run from out the uni a couple of days at lunchtime and you run up in the beautiful forest up at Wurruruk, something like that, just to mix it up, or over at in Union Jack. So some things to mix it up, just to give you a bit of mental break and stimulation right now, Brady and Jason, would, I think, be quite valuable.
I was going to say, don't pay too much attention to some of your paces this time of the year as well, being summer, like the weather, it's going to be easier when it gets around to April. However, I did just look at your Strava and your run on Sunday. This is true Ballarat weather. 12 degrees feels like 8 in the middle of summer. Boys, what's happening over there? It's 42 degrees here yesterday. Sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so true. And probably maybe, Jason, just on reading what you're saying is be stronger on your pace. So when you're running with people or you're running by yourself, just try to be a bit more even. Brady, knows. I know you ran over hills, I think, when you ran the 540s, but try to get sort of consistently, more at 5 minute Ks. And one thing I would say, and this is one thing I used to hate, and when I'd run too fast in my warm down after your 5K surge or something, and you said, oh, I did really well in the warm down, I kept it under 5 minute Ks. You know what? I'd say that's bad. You wanted to be real. It was a warm down. It's recovering. You
no
just job, mate.
About the cool down.
I'm just getting it wrong.
Yeah. I'm meant to be looking at that and putting that on, saying, woohoo, I've done fantastic in my warm down. So just run that, be sensible. I used to love, we'd have people, I'd do the track session, we'd be warming down up Sturt Street, and I'd have people who didn't run as hard as me, and they'd be putting to me in the warm down. It used to really pee me off.
Yeah, where you're in the workout.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, before I let you go, Mono, I got one for you. I got two for you actually. But the first one, we're talking about half marathons on the weekly show. Morgan McDonald moved to number 4. Started looking at the list. You've got 2 in there, but they both got asterisks next to it.
3 actually. I only had 2 in there, but I did have 3 because the 2 Japanese. And this is you haven't got long enough, but I am not happy about this because I actually think
that's exactly what most did. Mono wouldn't be happy about this.
Yeah, I wanted a ramp at the end of those 3 races because it wouldn't have affected me much. I mean, I ran 60.06 and I don't know how much downhill the Tokyo runs were, but I kind of have and if you want to get into tin tacks, I mean, I held the Australian record for 20 years, but I didn't complain because, Deeks was downhill at Boston. So, and I love Deek, and I respect Deek, and that guy ran Boston, and that's bloody tough. So his 2:7:51 there deserves to be the Australian record. What I say is, I reckon, and I'm not sure if I still am, but I reckon I was probably the best half marathon runner, or if there was a 30K cross country runner, I would have been definitely the best Australian at that. But I reckon my best event was the 21K, and I'm really proud of those half marathon world records. And the fact there's an asterisk beside them really pisses me off. I will swear now because they were great runs at the time, and I reinvented the half. It wasn't that popular then, and there's 3 or 4 of us, Saron and a couple of other Africans who were kicking it down, and we were having great competition. So we brought the half marathon into world recognition to the strength of what the event is today. And I want to take credit for that. Credit to Morgan McDonald, credit to Robbo, But Darren Wilson and my runs, I think, and the same for, Karen McCann and people who ran on other courses that, around the world at the time, they were massive runs because a half marathon wasn't as accepted as what it was then. So a bit of respect for me for my half marathon times. I won those 3 races. They were the Great North Run and 2 of the biggest half marathons in the world in Tokyo as it was at the time. And I'm really proud of those. And I think they're better than my marathon time. So give Deke the marathon record, Deke and Lisa. Give Karen and me the half marathon records, and I'd sleep well tonight. Was that enough?
From someone that doesn't know, sorry. Why is the asterisk there? Like just as someone...
Because downhill. You're only allowed, so, it's either got to be... So a course is not allowed to be short. It's got to be within 30% of the start-finish has to be... it has to be within 30% so you don't get a wind advantage, and it can't drop more than 1 metre per metre. So over 21K, it can't drop more than 21 metres. And both of those 2 courses, the Tokyo and the Great North Run course, it does drop. But they don't seem to put an asterisk against Mo or those other guys that run fast at Great North Run. But anyway, that's why they're not officially recognised.
Did the course change between, because you've got the asterisk next to your time at Tokyo in 93, but then Darren Wilson is our second fastest, doesn't have a downhill like asterisk.
We should have exactly the same course. Exactly the same course.
Yeah.
Troopy's was different. So Troopy ran, and he sort of claimed it for a while because he thought, they changed the course.
flat at Tokyo,
Yep. And then Collis broke it. He ran 60, 58, I think, at Marugami, and so it moved on from then. But I still think Darren and my times are, and no disrespect to Robbo, but I think they're, I reckon they're pretty outstanding. Think, we ran 60.06 and 60.03 in 1993 and 1995 or something. 2-hour marathon pace. Shit, 40 years ago, whatever it is now. Bloody hell.
No carbon plates in your shoes either?
No shoes, nothing. The light, bloody, I don't know what they were, the streaks. Yeah, so
streaks.
Which had absolutely no support, which I loved. And I'm still coming to grips with all this bloody foam and heavy shoes, but they make me run fast, so I keep wearing them.
Yeah, and how is your body? How's your running going? I saw you race down at Warrnambool a couple of weeks ago.
No, I walked the 6K. I race walked.
Oh, did you? I saw the photo in the elite Nike kit. I thought you might have been running it.
Well, I had to pull it out to make sure people knew who I was. But generally, it was. I'm getting back. I'm doing a bit of running. I'm back. I ran 30 minutes last night. So having trouble with that old man's calf, that same calf injury I had about 5 years ago, and I even extended to an Achilles this time, a bit of an Achilles tear. So not having a lot of run. But one thing I will say. I never complain about my legs, having done about 300,000 Ks in their life. They've served me very well. I'd like another 4 or 5 years out of them, but that might be questionable. But love my running and doing everything I can to get back. And hopefully I'll see you guys back on the start line soon.
We will. Just over 13 weeks away. Listeners, if you're inspired by that, get your entry in. Less than 1,000 entries remain. I've been calling it the Valencia Marathon of the Southern Hemisphere for the last 12 months because I love my experience there. Jason's going to be on the start line. I'll hopefully be back again. Thanks to Fed Uni and the Ballarat Marathon for supporting this project. Mona, surely we've got to hear your voice again throughout the next 10 or 11 weeks with these podcasts. Hopefully we hear you maybe a bit closer to race day. Let's get you back on for sure. I know the listeners will love that.
Great. I've loved the chat. Fantastic. Good training, Jason, Brady. I'll follow you guys with interest. And, let's get a check-in a few weeks out just for some final tips. Sounds good.
Jason will be back next time. Yeah, he'll be back. We'll be able to track his training, and Moosel Croaks will be in charge next one. So thanks for that tonight, guys. Really enjoyed it, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Ballarat's world-class road running festival returns bigger and better across the weekend of the 26th and 27th of April. Choose from the full marathon, half marathon, 10 kilometre, 5K or mile races. Registrations are coming in from all over Australia, so don't delay. Sign up today at ballaratmarathon.com.au.